I think they had some good performances individually, right? You know, Dardoch was very far ahead on the Olaf, somewhat expected.
Isaac, if you're talking, I can't hear you, so I am going to talk.
Oh, well, I'm not sure why you couldn't hear me, but
okay, now we're good. Cool.
Okay, I think we're good now. Dardoch, you know, had a pretty good individual performance on the Olaf. You know, created a 2-level advantage. I think performing very well there in that first game. Johnson also individually, I just think looked good throughout the whole game. I do think we might not see Dignitas go back towards the Senna unless they want to pair it with something like, you know, maybe even a Casio or a Corki or something along those lines that is going to have an even easier time front to back. Honestly, gotta say I'm pretty surprised to see the Renekton gone right back to that in the first pick. It's already looking like a little bit of that SoloMid run back.
Yeah.
The first 3 picks are all the same. Dignitas, fair enough. Maybe they just feel, okay, this is a difference already. Maybe Dignitas is just saying, hey guys, if that top lane fight didn't go bad, we could have won the game, right? Because to be fair, that did put Broken Blade massively ahead of Viper. There was that insane skirmish up on that top side. You know, Viper flashed in, and Spica got him with a great facebreaker, clapped him together, stunned him. He couldn't get anything off. Broken Blade came out of that with not only 2 kills to 0, but he had a big farm advantage. He had an XP advantage. And it was very difficult, I think, for Viper to play back from that situation. This is a bit of a difference here, though, going towards the Ezreal instead of the Aphelios. Perhaps worried specifically about how things would work out with the Zoe instead. Is a little bit interesting, I have to say, because you are a relatively low damage composition. I guess if you think that Dignitas is going to go for kind of a lot of bruisers and not true frontline, then Ezreal is great because you can just cut it out, and it's not like you're dealing with an Ornn or something that you really have to have, you know, maximum damage output to deal with. The Olaf is going to get banned out, so that's another change here, but fairly similar overall to what we saw in the first game so far.
Right. The Olaf not being picked up before the second half of bans comes in means that Dignitas are going to have to figure out something else. Still stand by exactly what I said in game number 1. If Dardoch ends up playing any champion that builds a Cinderhulk, I think it's GG before we ever hit the Rift. So I want to see him on something else that's able to carry the game. Well, something that can only build a Cinderhulk. Put it that way. Like champions that have the choice is the important part, Isaac. You have to be able to make a choice.
Yeah,
it's all about,
like, if he picks a Graves, but then decides to build a Cinderhulk.
No, that's inting. Come on, no, no. Are you the guy responsible for that? Is it meta that 6 wits in Diana video that Riot released or something? Well, if Diana just builds 6 wits in, she's a bruiser. Okay, TSM, they lock in the Nidalee here, which means that Spica will not be on the set this time around, and instead that will either go to Treats or to Bjergsen. How are we feeling about this?
Interesting. I mean, with the Ezreal, you know, since Nidalee is up, then you are creating a bit of a poke composition, right? You're looking, okay, you have a little bit of poke. You have then this front line that's going to engage. I think TSM needs to pair this alongside still a high, consistent DPS style of champion. Kayn, though, let's go.
Oh,
Dardoch blocking it in.
Kayn don't build no Cinderhulk. All day long.
I don't think we've seen this since Spica actually had that infamous Kayn game, where it was like the 25-minute transform. He wasn't even trying to go for any ganks. You know, people were really negative about that. That was like the first game of the split for TSM. I think Spica has gotten massively better since then. But Dardoch bringing this out, and the Leona. So Dignitas really getting aggressive here. They're saying, you want to sit back, you want to poke, you want to, you know, play scrappy, then we're gonna go right at you. And it's not gonna be. I was thinking that they could have done, you know, set support and actually gone for like a high DPS mid laner. It looks like it is just going to be set in the mid lane and go towards the Braum. So this does feel like an incredibly low damage composition for TSM. I've got to say I'm not a fan of it. It basically feels like Ezreal V9. I feel like in a lot of these team fights, yes, you are going to get supplementary damage from the Shen, you know, from the Set, you know, from the Nidalee, but they are not consistent sources of high damage output. You know, maybe we'll see them augment their build somewhat to go a little bit more aggressive to try to help out Doublelift in that regard, but there are some champions with fairly high sustain on the other side. So if you're looking at like a Death Dance Renekton and a Death Dance Kayn with, you know, with red form, who's healing a lot there, if you have the healing coming through from Johnson, then I do think it becomes somewhat concerning for these frontliners, right? Because then all of a sudden the Shen damage and the set damage is not that relevant. This does just feel like you must have a really good game as Doublelift, or TSM's not really going to do much. So we'll see how they can perform.
And one thing I'm looking at here, because we don't get to see Kayn very often, and I think there's a lot of subtle things with this champion that may not immediately come to mind if you don't see him a lot, play him a lot, or at least have him in your games very much, is remember that in professional play, pretty much everyone goes Rost all the time. Blue Kayn is a little bit inty for professional play because nobody's ever really going to be alone, so he can just pop them instantly. And when everyone wants to go for Rost, it means you want red orbs. To get red orbs, you have to make plays against enemy melee champions. Now, with top lane being Shen, mid lane being Set, and bottom lane having a Braum for support, that means all 3 enemy lanes will actually give Dardoch the kind of orbs that he wants. And for Kayn, that is huge because you are not accidentally hamstringing yourself by ganking what would otherwise be a good lane, but you're getting the wrong kind of orb. I think that this lane setup is actually super fortunate for Dardoch.
Yeah, I agree. He's obviously not going to be able to necessarily farm it off of the Nidalee, but he will have a lot of opportunities to go towards some of those lanes. Renekton plus that Kayn could go up towards topside, try to pick on the Shen. Even if you can't kill him, if you can just farm your form off of him, that's going to be pretty effective. It is the Ghost Flash Phase Rush set, so this is the same idea as what we saw from Bjergsen last time around. Very defensive composition here from TSM. Again, it does feel like kind of putting all eggs in the Doublelift basket. We'll see if they can prove me wrong, and maybe if Bjergsen wants to go for a little bit more of a damage build here because they have so much front line with the triple tanks. But I think it's going to be a really, really interesting game because this is just not a lot of champions that you see every day. When you have the Kayn versus Nidalee, it's not a matchup we've seen. You barely see the Kayn whatsoever.
Kayn also with that Conqueror rune, that means that's your dead giveaway. If there was ever any doubt for anyone watching right now what he's going to evolve into, it's definitely red if he's going Conqueror, because Blue Kayn gets nothing out of Conqueror. It's not going to activate by the time that your burst goes off. It's pretty much your free ticket for anybody who's not used to playing against the champion or might be lower elo and just doesn't know. If he goes Dark Harvest, he's blue. If he goes Conqueror, he's red. If he doesn't abide by those rules, he's a noob. That's pretty much how Kayn can be evaluated if you want a bit of a spoiler in your own games as to which form he's going to aim for. But taking stock of the teleports and everything, because last time they did matter a lot in terms of how things went early on and how Dignitas was able to get that early Rift Herald. On the side of Dig, it is a teleport for both AD carry and top lane, with Phoenix having the option to switch into one with the Spellbook. Aphromoon not having a Spellbook this game. We know how much Leona likes the Aftershock combat potential. On the other side, Bjergsen having double combat summoner spells there with Ghost and Flash, while Doublelift is manning the teleport here on the Ezreal. Broken Blade also having one of his own.
Pretty much always going to try to run that teleport on Ezreal as long as you can. He is playing double tempo here also. And we'll see how they do hold up in this lane. You do always have to be worried about the potential all-in from Leona. He is playing Ignite. Obviously, the Braum should be able to block a lot of any follow-up damage from the Senna, but there is a lot of CC there. If you can actually land, the Zenith Blade plus your Q stun, the follow-up route from Senna, it becomes pretty threatening. Spica here, a lot of his job is going to be tracking this Kayn, keeping him down, because Kayn is monstrously strong once you transform. Before that, you really don't have a lot going on, but Dardoch has snuck around here behind Bjergsen.
Okay, Bjergsen with the Ghost trying to get himself away here. Dardoch does show up, although he won't be able to get a kill. That's plenty of orbs that he can pick up and work towards that evolution. But Spica is hanging out. He's ready to go. Finds half of Dardoch's health bar pretty much immediately. And Dardoch wants to try to get away from this one. Second Spear's not going to find the mark. Bjergsen going in. He's drowsy, but the damage comes out. The Haymaker won't find the mark. Bjergsen looking to fight for his life. Phoenix needs a little bit more damage to finish this one off. The auto attack will do it. And Phoenix makes it a 2-for-1.
That is really good for Dignitas, to be honest with you. TSM tried to punish there, but it didn't look like they were on the same page. Spica was actually backing up as Bjergsen was going forward, so it feels like there was a bit of miscommunication there. And when you're going to have those really low HP fights, you have got to be on top of things, on top of communication, really making sure you're on the same page there. Viper will have to back off. You know, he is losing out on that trade. And there's a lot more minions for Broken Blade to pick up here. So Broken Blade looking good. But let's watch this one more time. Bjergsen was already very low here. Spica lays a trap. He is playing Conqueror in Italy, so he has the Conqueror fully stacked here now. As Phoenix came over and the flash went through, look at Spica. He's running away. He's like, all right, it's over. But Bjergsen flashes in. If Spica's there a split second earlier, maybe it looks a little bit different. I still think the result is probably very similar, but you can see Bjergsen almost had enough health regen to actually survive there. That was that W passive, little sparkles there popping out and taking down Bjergsen, which means double buff donated over to Phoenix.
That was so close. I thought for sure, because you know how Set's health regeneration just goes bonkers when he's low HP. I thought for sure we were going to see some random super regen keep him alive through that. But not quite. Not quite. And with Dardoch now farming up his own blue, getting back into the farm state here. Also with Kane and Nidalee being in this game, we have two of the fastest farming junglers in League of Legends. These two are able to just constantly clear and cycle their camps so efficiently and effectively. I'm expecting them to stay very relevant to the game just off of farming alone.
And we'll see how much Dardoch wants to prioritize farming versus prioritizing just trying to get towards his form, because that's one of the things you have to balance, right? You could be a Kane and have a ton of farm, but if you don't have that form stacked up early, you're not going to be very useful. You know, so much of what dictates your success in the game is being able to get an early red form and just kind of get ahead of the pace of the game to the point where you become so difficult to actually burst down. You know, you start getting these situations where red form Kane, especially when he's on Cleaver or Death Dance, with these types of items, has so much CDR and he's just rotating through spells, healing through everything.
Viper losing out in this 1v1 here top side until he presses the Q button, and all of a sudden everything is A-OK. Right back into the lane there, maintaining some presence and some pressure, but you can see already, you mentioned how there were a lot of minions left for Broken Blade to farm up before we went into that last replay. Well, hey man, there are so many minions farmed up by Broken Blade now with a very nice lead for himself there in that top side. Teleporting back to make sure he doesn't miss anything else, continuing to have good showing here on the Shen. Dignitas, however, still commanding that about 700-800 gold lead as Johnson and Afromu maintain control of the bottom lane here. You can see Treats trying to jump forward there, just keep the minions under control enough for Doublelift to farm them underneath the turret, but things are going good early on here for Dignitas.
They are, and I also want to kind of highlight the reason for that aggressive trade from Broken Blade. So Viper hadn't gotten 6 yet, and Broken Blade hadn't used his teleport. So when your opponent has already based and come back to lane, and you're going to base, so we'll call that off as Phoenix is going to get jumped on.
Spica with a lot of damage onto the Dignitas mid laner, taking him down to half HP. Now even lower, here comes the ulti as Dignitas will try to outplay this one, but they've already lost Phoenix. Now they're going to lose Johnson. Both Dignitas carries out of the picture. Bjergsen, whether he's on one of those traditional mid lane carries or whether you slap the man on a meatball, he's got sauce. And he makes the plays happen. TSM pick up 2, and now they'll grab a Drake.
Looking good already. Big win for them on that bottom side, but they are having more emphasis again on other players besides Bjergsen. And people complain about this not because Bjergsen is bad at tanks, and not because he is bad at supports, but it's because he is so good at those carries, and because he is so reliable on those carries. TSM members and fans are so used to seeing Bjergsen take over games and pull them out of unwinnable situations when he is playing those carries, and that's more difficult to do on a tank. But to go back a little bit to that earlier point, this is something that a top laner really can learn from, is when your opponent has gone for an early base and you have yet to use your teleport, you can trade your health aggressively and then use your teleport to refill it, as Broken Blade did. But here is the play one more time, going in on Phoenix. They knew he didn't have flash because of that 2v2, so they go in aggressively. We see that dunk from Bjergsen, clapping them all together. As the R comes back from Zoe, he goes down. Johnson flashes out, but the flashes are there to follow him because he had been tagged by Treats. That Braum passive was always going to proc. The one advantage right now for Dignitas is they do have TP up on Shen on the top side. So, Shen doesn't have the TP or the Stand United, so they could try to make a play. But because Dragon's down, it's unlikely they're going to get anything from it unless they, do a swap and send their top laners bot, their bot laners up towards that Herald, and then maybe you could get a free Herald because you have TP on the Renekton and Shen can't answer.
Shen still in a great spot here, although I really want to see if we ever get a big empowered shield breaker out of Viper at any point in this game. Probably not, just because both top laners are always going to have to like TP to the fight, so you can't break the guy's shield when you're not there.
It's also so conditional because you almost always start fights with your W on Renekton, right?
It's very hard. It's super cool if you can break like a 700-point shield with your W and just say, aha, yes, that interaction finally paid off. But it's very hard. It's very rare for that to actually end up paying dividends there, as Dardoch tries to use the ulti to escape away from Bjergsen and Spica, but they are in hot pursuit. The spear goes through. Spica is on the hunt, baby.
And Johnson very late on that ultimate there on the Senna, so not able to get that shielding down onto Dardoch. Dardoch is being held down this time around compared to last. You know, on that Olaf, he was 2 levels up on Spica. He was the one running the show. Spica has gotten these 2 early kills. He's looking good. We'll see if they can continue this forward. The other thing I wanted to note is that we talked about how it is so difficult for Senna to deal with tanks.
Yes.
Guess what? It's even more difficult this game. You're on Senna, you have a Shen, and you don't have the Orianna. Zoe is not a tank killer. Zoe is not going to be, you know, bursting down this Shen in fights. If I'm Broken Blade, I actually build 0 magic resist this entire game. I stack health and armor, and if I'm really worried about poke, I get a Warmogs. But just flat health and armor is going to be more than enough to actually deal with any sort of burst from the Zoe, and is going to make you nigh unassailable from the Kayn, the Renekton, and the Senna. They just won't have anyone to deal with you.
I like unassailable, man. That's a $10 word. That's not a word that you're just going to find sitting on the bottom shelf somewhere. That's some top shelf stuff. I like that.
It's behind the glass. It's locked up. You got to call over the shop, man.
You need the shop attendant to help you with that one. And Dignitas is going to need some help dealing with that Shen if he takes your advice. As mid lane, you can see the paddle star finding Bjergsen, but what is he even paddling? It took off 20% HP, and the set is just fine. Mercury treads alone appearing to be enough to take care of this one, as Dardoch doesn't even have a chance to respond. No ulti's going to come through. Stun comes down. TSM is making this look easy.
The Scrim Nidalee showed her face. Finally, we're seeing why people are like, yeah, this champ's OP. Let's get in there every game. You're getting nothing, and Johnson now, no fun zone for him, no flash available. Spear lands. You are dead, my friend.
It was scrims all along. TSM
the whole time?
is just doing so. Always was, man. Always was. TSM is doing so much work early on here. 11 minutes into this game, 2,000 gold lead, 7 kills to 2, and now they are about to just go to work smashing some plates. There's one. Can they stick around long enough to get the second? Oh, I think they just might. And here comes Shelly to turn it from 2 into 4. Oh, this is just disaster for Dignitas. Shelly gets the charge off. Doesn't even matter that she dies there at the end. They only need to finish off that last half a plate. And considering those bonus protections will wear off by the time TSM gets back into the lane, it should be easy. Here's how they got Dardoch.
Very well done there. They knew Dardoch didn't have flash that time, and they know, you know, he really only has one path to exit, so Spica threw it exactly where he was going to have to go there, nails him with the spear, cleans up 2 kills, and then Johnson was trying to get out of there, knew that they were going to be coming for him, but too little too late, and then you were just so dead. No way you can escape from this one without the flash in the 1v3. Spica grabs 3 quick kills, 5 and 1 on the Nidalee. 2 items at 12 minutes is just absurd. He even has
a Rod of Ages.
Yeah.
Rod of Ages. The item that stacks to, what is it, like 160, 170% gold efficiency once it's fully stacked. So 10 minutes from now, that gold lead is just going to be worth even more than it already appears. Spica moving into the Drake here for the second one. He's got treats nearby. Nobody from Dignitas wants anything to do with this, and wisely so. Just let that one slip through, deal with it later. Right now, you gotta not try to take these fights against this Nidalee that has just taken over the game. And I've been plenty critical of Spica. I think he has been a weakness of TSM in more games than he hasn't. But in this game, he is seriously flexing his muscles, and I'm all about it.
They're looking for the dive here. TP coming in, 3 men top.
They got to make this work. If they don't find this kill in a Broken Blade, it is a tragedy here for Dignitas. Drowsy goes through, Sleep comes down, Dardoch moves out, and Dignitas get there, man. Well played there, converging on the top side. Solo laners and jungler working together to get that 3rd kill of the game.
Very nicely done by Dignitas. They had to keep making these plays, but it does cost them quite a bit, right? That's Senna ultimate as well as 3 members. Bjergsen's going to get some plates in the mid lane. They lost their turret in the bottom lane, so it's not as though TSM was getting nothing back. Now some of the jungle being pillaged away here from Dardoch, who is already behind, and TSM is in full control at this point. And I think things are going to be really, really tough for them if Broken Blade does just commit to this kind of pure frontline style. Spica's already doing very well. We can see that Doublelift also is going to be going towards some armor here. It will be going for that Iceborne Gauntlet, which I think makes sense. The only magic threat is Phoenix, as I talked about earlier, and for the same reasoning, getting some extra armor here is going to be incredibly effective.
Well, we can go ahead and sound the real champion alarm because Dardoch has evolved into Rost.
What's that horn sound like? Is that a horn? That's like more of an alarm. A horn's more like dun, 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 dun.
Well, it is broke because you don't see a lot of Kayn, so it has very poor funding. But anyway, he's a real champion now. He did manage to get all the orbs he needed in the top side, and now we've got a dive coming through from TSM. But with the TP arriving and Bjergsen missing the haymaker, Dignitas may be able to turn this one around. That's going to be a lot of shutdown money if they're able to get it. Viper, you need a little bit more damage, buddy, but it's not coming through. Viper getting too hyphy, trying to make the plays. Ends up giving one over.
That was very close to a donation, though, over towards Dignitas. As after the TP comes in, you could just back it up, but they stayed around, and Spica almost gives up the shutdown. Dignitas now getting some poke down here. TSM will be sent scurrying. They look for the attempted play. It does end up working out. They get that kill, but that is a high-risk, relatively low-reward play, I would say. After they get the stopwatch and the TP, I feel like that's just one where you just back it up.
Yeah, Dignitas not quite where they need to be with the damage there. Viper, you could tell he knows how bad the first game went. He knows how little of an impact he had, and he wanted to change that up here and just be able to get that shutdown, be relevant on this Renekton, be that big team fight force that they need diving in and disrupting, but not finding it, giving another kill over to Spica. Dignitas will at least grab themselves their first turret of the game here in the top side. Still a 3,000 gold difference. Still 2 minutes until that Ocean Drake shows up. Back-to-back games here, Isaac, with an Ocean Soul.
It's going to be that, and with multiple tanks in the front line. I talked about why it's more effective because you could not burst down tanks. They're almost always going to get, some large amount of regen from that Ocean Soul. TSM will be set up very well to utilize that. And I would like to talk a little bit more about Spica because, you had talked about how you don't think he's had that many good games for TSM, but I do think he gets somewhat of a bad rap. I think he's better than people give him credit for. Even in their game against Golden Guardians, I think his Lee Sin performances in the first games were actually, quite good. I think he was, creating a lead over closer. He had some good smites. There were things going for him that, were very, very nice, but obviously things fell apart and they lost a game. And you can put some of that on him. But I do just think he gets a bit of a bad rap, and sometimes people are quick to overlook when he is having a good game.
Well, credit where credit is due. I am impressed this time around. 7 out of 8 KP. Rift Herald summoned up here in the top side. Turret goes down, and we're up to almost a 4,000 gold lead here for TSM. Bjergsen continuing that push. You can see he's sort of going for the same idea that you were talking about for Broken Blade. Forget itemizing magic resistance at all. You're never going to get 100 to 0'd by Zoe anyway, so who cares? And just stack so much health and armor that the rest of the enemy team poses no threat to you whatsoever. DMP already completed, and you can see the Bomby Cinder as he works towards that Sunfire Cape. Stand United coming in, Broken Blade, just making sure it doesn't turn into a counterplay or anything like that, but he did want to guarantee Bjergsen's escape.
I think that's well played by Dignitas. They can't just one-shot Bjergsen. They can't burst him down. So when he overextends, they just tax his resources a little bit. They didn't hard commit to it because if they just dove fully on in and Dardoch pops his ult, then Broken Blade comes through and you could actually die. In this case, they get the Stand United out for very, very little effort. And they are going to be, needing to get any little win that they can. Dignitas, though, may want to try to contest this, and it will be tough.
Absolutely, but the other choice is then having to contest every Drake for the rest of the game. Otherwise, it's Ocean Soul on a comp with 2 massive
good
tanks.
poke.
Doublelift below half HP. Viper coming in from behind. Doublelift with the flash over the wall, keeping himself alive. Here comes that big piercing shadow as Viper's now the first one to die in the team fight. Doublelift grabbing the kill onto him. 3-man knockup coming out from Dignitas. Aphromoo walking away as you've got Dardoch in the middle of 4, in the middle of 5, keeping himself somehow alive. Here comes the knockup over the wall. Phoenix needs a little bit more damage to make this one happen. It's a triple kill for the Zoe. Oh my goodness gracious, a quadra kill. The paddle star will not find the mark. Doublelift goes for the damage, but Noble Sacrifice Afromu will stand in front of the shots and die for his mid laner. It is a fight going the way of Dignitas, and y'all better sing the praises of Dardoch with the multi-man knockups, keeping himself alive in the middle of 4 people. Dignitas play that fight right.
They played it really well, but Doublelift able to fight his way out of that and keeping them in it. This is the Honda performance play here. Watch Phoenix over the wall, chunking out Doublelift, and immediately now, Doublelift has to play his fight so defensive. Look at this. He has to flash out from that Leona ultimate, get away from the Renekton. I talked about the onus on Doublelift to be that guy who's doing most of the damage, and because he had to play it so defensively due to that paddle start from Phoenix, who almost, by the way, nailed him with one more, which would have just been the end of the fight, Doublelift didn't have as much damage as he would want. He didn't get a lot of the auto attacks down. I think he still played the fight very well, but you can see how Dignitas can win some of these fights if they can push Doublelift out, if they can have the rest of their members in there scrapping. But it is back to the scene of the crime here once more. We'll see if Dignitas can pull off the miracle again. But TSM have full control of this pit, and they have the level advantage here on the jungle.
We ain't done yet, as the Drake is secured by TSM. Dignitas see no more reason to fight, and wisely so, unfortunately. Dardoch is way too close, and that means an easy pick there for TSM with the flash taunt of Broken Blade. Enemy jungler dead. Baron is now alive as of 25 seconds ago. TSM can make the call for this.
And they have Nidalee to actually heal them through a lot of the damage. They're just going to straight up start this up. Dardoch is dead. Broken Blade is setting himself up for a flank. So if Dignitas come to contest this, Broken Blade will be behind them. Broken Blade could actually get the angle here, but they're sniffing this out. They're trying to keep eyes on him. Phoenix does check over the wall, and it'll be up to him to try to poke them off.
Afromu could be vulnerable here. Bjergsen going in, Afro the target at the start. There's your follow-up CC from the Shen. Broken Blade grabbing the kill there. Phoenix still trying to kite himself away. Bjergsen on the front line. Haymaker keeps him nice and healthy. Nothing to it but to do it. TSM pick up 2. They're heading right back into the top side of the river here to return to that objective.
This is a clean game from TSM. They peel off the Baron, they force Dignitas to come to them, and now come back again, they are telling him. Phoenix does have a lot of damage here. Doublelift and Bjergsen both chunk from that. Doublelift's in trouble.
Dardoch with a 2-man knockup here yet again. Viper into the middle of 5, but oh, he just can't do the damage he needs to do. However, they will manage to get TSM out of here. Baron's not on the table any longer, so Dignitas will trade away their top laner for stopping the Baron.
I want to see how much damage Phoenix has been doing in this game, because it feels like he is a man on a mission. He is refusing to allow Dignitas to just go quietly into the night to lose this game here. Phoenix has been incredible throughout these last couple fights. He is nailing so many critical paddle stars over onto Doublelift, but it's going to get even harder now because Doublelift does have that Death's Dance, which is going to mean he can start to shrug off a lot of the poke. He's also getting the additional MR from there to be able to negate the flat pen that Phoenix has purchased up. It's also additional armor on top of that Iceborne that he already has, so it's going to be so tough now to actually burst him down with the protection of trees.
5-0-6. Man, that is a scary, scary Ezreal to have to try to deal with, especially considering you've got less than 3 minutes before Ocean Soul becomes a reality unless Dig stops it. The Zoe pretty much has to one-shot him. I mean, I don't see any other world where he's ever going to die to the all AD rest of the team when he's got these items that you just got done talking about. It's such a scary proposition. Spica also with an hourglass completed so the Nidalee can jump in with Reckless Abandon. TSM taking down their 4th turret of the game here with that tier 2 in the top side. And they're not stopping. Dignitas is not in the right position. What is going on? Phoenix is walking over. He fires off a Sleepy Trouble Bubble. It hits a minion. There's nothing that he can do alone against this. TSM just take the inhibitor for free because no one from Dignitas was there to stop them. Dignitas moving in now, trying to find some sort of a chance on the back end of things. Nice haymaker there from Bjergsen to make sure that he doesn't take any extra damage, risk getting too close to the grave. TSM walk away. They got in here for free.
I think Dignitas just didn't expect TSM to hard commit to that. They were assuming that TSM would push that out and then go to mid lane and try to take the mid lane, tier 2. So they're saying, all right, let's push out mid and we'll preempt that. Instead, TSM makes a smart call there and just commits to the push when they realize that Dignitas isn't around. They grab themselves an inhibitor, and that's going to make it even more difficult to defend this next dragon, because in 1 minute, when that potential Ocean Soul spawns for TSM, Dignitas is still going to have to deal with supers coming up in that top lane.
And remember that super minions have plenty of armor. It's their magic resistance that's negative, and spells are very effective at clearing them away. You've only got Zoe for magic damage, and Zoe must be at the dragon fight. If Viper's the one left dealing with these super minions, as you can see the lane allocations are now, he doesn't just smack that entire wave and then immediately get to rotate over quickly. Like, it's going to take him a little bit of time to be able to beat these super minions down with a 0-3 Renekton. So...
Because
not great.
You're locked over there. Yeah, it's not great. And because you're locked over there, you can't contest for vision, right? Because they have to have the TP up for when the dragon is going to spawn, which means TSM can walk in, try to clear out as many wards as possible. There is one ward over by the dragon pit that would be one that Viper could actually use potentially to TP over to, but they don't have a lot of eyes on what TSM is doing right now. And if Viper can't find a good angle to TP, they're going to be in trouble, because it's 10 seconds now until this does spawn. TSM have control of the bot lane. No one is even answering Broken Blade right now. He's actually on the tower. They have way more vision in the area. They have top lane pushing automatically because of the supers, and they just cleared out mid.
Viper just backed. He's waiting in Fountain, ready to TP in with the home guard bonus.
Or it expired.
Aphromoo decides to engage, but Doublelift with the immediate shift over the wall is perfectly safe. Aphromoo at 200 HP means he might as well be removed from the fight. He's already used his ultimate as well, so he doesn't have any long-range options. Dardoch is in the Drake pit here, wants to make this a 50-50 against Spica. He's 1 level down, so he has the worst smite. TSM, they don't want to 50-50 this. They want to try to remove Dardoch immediately. Dignitas does not want to allow that. Dardoch's keeping himself alive here with the ulti. Viper diving into the middle of 5 here yet again. Nice 3-man ulti, nice 3-man knockup coming out there from Dardoch as the damage goes through, and it's the Kayn onto the Drake. Dardoch will deny the Ocean Soul from TSM.
Oh, and now Phoenix might actually get a kill. So low.
That was so much damage.
TSM are going to go to Baron, though. This is going to be the counterplay here. I honestly can't believe Dignitas managed to fight their way out of that, losing only 1 member and actually preventing the Soul from going down. I think that was very well played by them. Dardoch had an incredible usage of the ultimate to avoid so much damage coming through from TSM, but now there's no way for them to contest the Baron. So TSM do lose it because Dignitas had the force there. They know it's pretty much GG if you give over the permanent Ocean Soul buff to a multi-tank team that you already can barely deal with. So they had the force, but TSM will still come out massively on top in the trade. They have the side lane pressure with the Shen here. They now have the Baron buff again. They already have 1 inhibitor down, so the pressure is going to be immense. And Doublelift also adding even more defensive itemization in now, has the QSS. So he has tons of armor, tons of MR. If he gets hit by a sleep or a stun, he can still get out of those. It's just so tough to deal with Ezreal, and it's games like these that make people, really like playing Ezreal, because he has such strong defensive options for itemization that when it's a team that, really has to play aggressively, he has non-stop shifts, he can build defensively and still be effective, and this is the kind of game you can really take over.
I think that entire sequence of events was textbook for why having a 3-0 Drake lead can just win you the game. Because your opponents for stopping the Soul, what is the benefit Dignitas got? They get a piddly little regeneration
bonus. A
bonus
couple % of regen.
That does practically nothing in terms of actual effectiveness in a fight. They lose Baron, but they had to. It was the right call. They had to. Otherwise, they just give away an Ocean Soul, and then TSM's able to force Baron anyway because you can't ever kill them. And it feels so bad to be in a position like that, but I think this is just the perfect chance to showcase exactly how much that early Drake control has meant for TSM and how important it's going to be from this point forward in this game. Turret falls, tier 2 gone in the bottom lane. TSM looking to take it right to the Dignitas base. Tier 3 turret under pressure here. Remember that TSM don't have the greatest siege in the world. They do have some tanks. They can try to dive if they want, but They're kind of just trying to poke at you a little bit, trying to throw some Nidalee Spears and some Ezreal Qs in there, but it's not like if Zoe was keeping you away.
No, but Dignitas has the wave clear, right? So you just put Baron buff in three lanes, and they can't actually clear it out. So they just walk up to the turret and kill it off.
Well, there we go. Bjergsen punches it to death. Senna ulti comes through. Bjergsen's not going to be dead anytime soon. Ulti comes down after moving the front line. But will it even matter? He's taunted up. He's nearly taken down. Bjergsen also so close to death's door. Nobody's dead on either side, but Dignitas are on the retreat. TSM, they're taking down the inhibitor in the bottom lane. Top lane inhib is exposed. Mid lane inhib is exposed. The Dignitas base will be reduced to rubble here as Phoenix tries to go forward, fire off some more paddle stars. It's looking pretty bleak here, Azale.
But look at Dardoch. He's behind them, so they actually have to try to force this fight on triple inhib.
They're going for the fight right now. However, Doublelift's already grabbing the kill onto Afromoo, and it's over before it even begins. Phoenix tries to find some damage, but forced to use his real flash to get away there as he was just a bit too close to the TSM players. And now all three inhibs are gone. Dignitas is on permanent base duty, and TSM are going back to shop up and look to end this game.
They're a hair's breadth away from winning this game at this point. Enormous gold lead. The front line pretty much can't be touched at this point for TSM. You can see so many luxury items coming through for them at this point, and they have the ability to close it out with Soul. They can just go stand and basically AFK by the dragon, and Dignitas has to go attempt to defend it. But if they do, there's 6 supers spawning per wave, 2 in each lane that are going to be crashing your base, and that can end the game by itself. They already have such bad wave clear that we talked about. Dardoch is spotted out here, and he's going to get surrounded. Dardoch might just be dead.
Oh, no, you lose your jungler right now.
He's out of there, it looks like.
It's got to be GG. Nope, Bjergsen is a man on a mission. He goes for the ulti, but he can't quite close the distance. Broken Blade with the flash and the taunt. Dardoch still in danger. Goes for the ulti. TSM falling back, trying to keep him within reach. Dardoch now getting CC'd, but some nice knockups coming through. A lot of CC being responded with now onto the lines of TSM. Tree's going to be taken very low. Bjergsen trying to run away. Doublelift going godlike. Viper once again not able to find any sort of an option. Afromoo also going to fall on the back end of the fight. And TSM kill 3. They don't even need the soul to make it happen here. Spica's taking a lot of damage as they chase forward, but Johnson and Phoenix will not be able to stand against this TSM tide. Roll it into their base. There it is. Nexus turret's gone. TSM will take us to match point.
Really strong game here from Spica. You've got to give so much credit over to him. Dardoch busting out the Kayn. Wanted to get going in the early game, wanted to get that early transform, and you kind of need to play Kayn from ahead, just the way that the champion functions. When you are up in gold, you become unkillable. You're just healing too much. You have too much CDR. You're so powerful, but when you are behind, he's so much less of a threat, and Spica kept him down, finding him in multiple instances here, being able to use that powerful early game Nidalee to take him down a bunch of times and really snowball this game. And then once he got them going, Doublelift was in cruise control, deathless throughout this game, went godlike. Yeah. Massive front line here for TSM, and I think this is what they were trying to show, with that set composition against Golden Guardians. It didn't work out for them there, but I'm sure that they are happy to be able to have brought this out and say, hey, this was the idea. This is why we pick Nidalee for Spica. This is why we picked the set for Bjergsen.
That's my big takeaway from this game, is in game number 1, it was Broken Blade and Bjergsen. Those were the standout players. Game number 2, it was all about Spica and Doublelift. And when you can trust everybody on the team to step up when they need to step up to enable any kind of draft and play style that you want, it makes your team leagues better. And now TSM only has to win one more game to eliminate Dignitas from playoffs contention and Worlds contention and move on to the next step themselves. With that, we're heading to a break. Once we come back, we will have the State Farm Analyst Desk ready to go with the breakdown. Don't go anywhere.